Good evening, one and all, or good whatever time of the day, in whatever sector of the universe you live in. My name is Dr. Lawrence W. Moore of the Wayfarer Project, and you are about to behold earworms. Fortunately, tonight we were able to stay on the same stream link. Last week there was a hiccup, and somehow it made a new one. So we are starting a little early tonight. Our friends at Mr. Brown Alliance ended their Sunday musings a little earlier. So we have an opportunity here. There are some folks in the UK who have not gone to bed yet, and hopefully they'll join us. So, in any case, we are going to take things a little easy tonight because there's no rush, so we can go through it little by little. We are going to be talking about the Fairlight CMI, which is a major part of electronic music history, especially on the commercial side of things in popular music. It was the first sampler, at least using that name, sampler. Um, that also had a sequencer that changed over its iterations, but nonetheless, it was basically an all-in-one digital audio workstation. Different than what we have today, but beautiful in its design, what they were able to do at the time, and then how its unique way of making sound kind of had its own flavor that really caught on. And a lot of our superior software today tries to emulate some of those sounds in a way to get that real vintage sound. So, in any case, if my monologue is a little long tonight, that's because we are starting a little early and they caught one of our panelists by surprise. I'm smart. I'm always here. I'm waiting because you never know when Brown's going to say, okay, we're done tonight. And like tonight, start a little early. But those of you who's catching us on the rewind, um, we're all good. So anyway, let's see here. We're waiting for a good amount of our chat to come in because we are starting early. So we don't want to get to the good stuff too quick. So anyway, here we go. Please welcome Liza Sahido of the Psyche Electroacoustic Opera Company. Hello, lady. How are you?
Hello.
Well, so it's been an interesting week for me, and you'll be coming out at this pretty raw, I think, because I don't think you've done much investigation into the Fairlight.
Nope. This is my. I first of all, like, till you mentioned it, never heard of it, and so I didn't even know there were any sort of computers
Well, it
built
was
in the '70s. So
well, there were computers, and then there was this. We'll be talking about with slides in a moment, but we're trying to kill a little time here so Mike can join us. But in any case, this will still be, I guess, some interesting tidbits here because there were computers at the time, punch cards, and then eventually floppy disks and everything, and they were used in computer music. Mostly in universities until they had some commercial use, and then it would be something that got licensed or sold in the market. And then in the case of the Fairlight, it is based on the Cassar it's almost like quasar without a U. So I've heard it pronounced Quasar. The Quasar M8, which we'll be talking about too. And that was more of the university version. And in fact, it was used at the School of Electronic Music in Canberra, Australia. And it served as like the template for the Fairlight, which was, undergone some revisions and made it more commercially viable. And then when it came out, it was expensive. A lot of prices were thrown around, but at least in the U.S., the early artists that bought it for like 25,000 each, and that's back in 79 or 80.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
astronomical.
it was exclusive, and that's why I guess a lot of people may not have heard about it because at that time in the U.S., it was like Stevie Wonder and Herbie Hancock that bought one. And then other than that, it was production houses, maybe some universities. But yeah, it was a bit exclusive as far as the price tag was concerned. And so that's kind of how it goes. Hello, who do we have joining us
We
here?
have
Oh,
a robot. We have Scott
Quasar.
Hovitt. We
Yeah,
have Flav.
Robot likes quasars. Robot loves Star Trek, as do we.
Yes.
But this, I actually had some slides typed up spelling it quasar, Quasar, but
Oh no.
no, I double checked. It was Quasar, Qasar. So, but anyway, I think what we're going to do is go on to some slides here and start talking about it so that we have something other than my face on screen. And you know what I can do? I can actually make this look a little better. Let me switch my face out here for a shot. How about that?
Who is that?
That is an AI creation of Peter Gabriel dressed as RoboCop.
That's not Peter Gabriel. That looks like
Well,
somebody else.
it's AI, so it
No.
kind of looks
Okay.
like a young him and an older him merged together.
No, it looks like someone who always plays a bad guy in the Star Trek series. Different characters, Deep Space Nine, Voyager.
Okay.
Yes, Scott Hovitt knows who I'm talking about. He knows exactly who I'm talking about. And Flav's like, really? That's Peter Gabriel? It ain't.
Well, I don't use AI in order to be really good.
Ugh.
So anyway,
You
let's move
can't you
along
can't
here.
call this guy Peter Gabriel. Dressed as
Well, I'm
RoboCop.
calling him Robo Peter for now.
No. No. You can't.
I hit the wrong scene in case anyone wanted to get our intro again. All right, here we go. So we're going to switch on over to the slides. I'm pretty sure Mike was probably engaged in some project and my email hasn't reached him yet. But
Mike,
that's what happens.
but Mike, was he coming in today?
Yeah, but not
He,
as early as we started.
well,
He's
he,
used to us starting around
oh,
7:30,
oh,
7:45
wait,
our time.
yes, that's right.
And now we're early because I don't know. It was just a bit of a surprise. But I don't know. I think I need to coordinate with Brown a little bit more, but I don't know. Here's the thing. If you're at the end of a stream, he's not going to just kill time and just go on with nothing to do. So it's tough. That's the streaming world.
Yeah, the streaming world is difficult.
Yeah,
It
it's
is.
not as easy as, well, I don't make it look easy. I make it look hard too.
Well,
So,
well,
so
it's
anyway,
not so bad. It's not so bad. It's just, man,
well, Peter Gabriel will be coming up because he was one of the people that could afford a Fairlight when it was first came out. So
oh
we're going to
really?
talk about that because he
Yeah.
even took that a little further, not just bought it. He was a distributor also.
Peter
Just
Gabriel's
like,
always been into audio electronics,
yeah.
hasn't he? That was his,
And the business. I mean,
yeah.
I believe he's still owner of SSL.
Yeah, I think so.
At least I haven't heard otherwise.
Mm,
Solid State Logic.
yeah.
Probably the best mixers in the world right now.
Scott Hovitt says, "We're here, so you're not that bad."
Hey, yes. Well,
Uh,
no, not that bad. Well, some people like pain. All right, so tonight, the Fairlight CMI, computer musical instrument. And in fact, at that time, there was a genre known as computer music, basically using computers to make music. There was electronic music already, but specifically using a computer to generate sound kind of became its own niche within electronic music. And today it's more of an academic term that still lasted for a while, but in any case, that's where it comes from. Computer
mm,
musical interface. Released in 79, but a lot of the first ones didn't get out to different people until 1980. So it's around that time period. And it was throughout the 80s that a lot of these sounds really got baked into the history because they were very unique and played a big part in some film music as well as a lot of pop music, jazz, fusion jazz, especially. And then, well, definitely fusion jazz, not the mainstream stuff, but then also hip hop and some of the early rap music. It was the source of a lot of those vintage sounds. So anyway, it looks kind of like this. It was a computer where you had a large rectangular box as we used to. We still do for some of the real gaming towers and stuff, but this was the horizontal on the desk rectangular box.
yeah.
And
What was the year when the computers went vertical?
I don't know. I don't know the specific year, but it was gradual. You know, you could get both form factors for a while. But you think about it, you do save some space, with the tower,
Yes.
especially mini towers. But some of us, like if you want to put some hard drives in there and make something that has a lot of drives and other things, you want to go with a tower still. But anyway, so it had that whole rectangular box in it. In the first edition was the analog to digital converter, meaning sound in, and the digital to analog converter, meaning sound out, and a processor, some other chips on the circuit board, and also memory. And from what I'm remembering, that's about it. It did have a floppy disk, and I think these were the ones that were even bigger than the 5 1/4, which is when had my first computer. It was a 5 1/4 floppy. Still somewhat floppy, but these I think were 8 inch, and they were really floppy. And so you had that to store your sounds, and it came with some sounds. So you had a bunch of floppies that you purchased with it. And of course, you used blank floppies to save the sounds that you created. Because largely it was a sampler. So you use a microphone, you record sound in, it'd store it in the RAM, and then you would manipulate it, work with it, and then if you wanted to save it for when you turned off the computer or you needed to switch out sounds, you would save it to floppy. And the unit could basically do 8 voices at once in its first edition. Got expanded later. But yeah, it was 8 voices at once and basically 8 channels of output.
Hmm.
And there was a computer keyboard, a QWERTY keyboard that you would use for typing. It was mouse ready.
No.
Later, I think it did have a stylus to start, but they improved on it later, I guess. But yeah, I think right from the beginning they did have the stylus. It had a touch screen with a light pen, basically. So this is pretty advanced, pretty interesting. And of course, a music keyboard. So you got a lot in the package. And it was kind of unique because the memory wasn't a lot. Oh, looks like Mike is with us. So I think, Mike, you could probably even talk right now.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All
Sweet.
right.
That's
Well,
good.
we would hear him anyway because Evie Mux does that, but I don't think I needed to turn you on here because I think, yeah, we're in the scene, so you're good. How
Yeah,
you doing, Mike?
I'm good. Catching my breath. You caught me off guard there, man.
Yeah, well, that's
We got
yeah.
to catch those Gabriel Marin documentaries, Mike. I haven't had a chance to sit down and watch them.
Oh yeah. For
Oh,
those of you who didn't catch last week, Mike was away in Ohio, but before that, he went to see our friends at Consider the Source and
yeah.
PX3 Live, and some of the artists we've interviewed in the past. In fact, we interviewed all of them except for the bass player, unfortunately. But and Mike is making a documentary about the band. So
Yeah,
tell us
it's
about
out.
it a little bit, Mike.
Oh, yeah, man, it's out. Well, it was done in Asheville a few weekends ago with all of the bands, so you can see the bass player. And the only haven't had a whole lot of comments. What I've had have been good. The only one on YouTube was someone said I needed more microphones. I'm like, well, I'm poor. What can I say? I
Wait, but
did.
more microphones for what? Did you record the band?
Obviously, you
Yeah.
recorded.
Oh,
Well, I interviewed them and videotaped. So, but I mean, there were occasions where maybe they turned their head or something like that, and you know, there were moments where it would have been nice to have them mic'd, but I don't have that many
oh, you
microphones.
mean for the? You know what, Mike? On YouTube, you will get random comments from people who
Yeah.
don't produce a darn thing.
Or they
Right.
do, but they're not great either.
No,
But
no, no.
it
Usually, I find creators aren't very critical of other
hmm.
creators because they know what it's like and they know it takes time to build up an arsenal of equipment and things like that. So I would uh ignore those comments, Mike.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
sure you
Well, I
did a
go.
great job. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah,
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 I'm going to check it out and maybe we could put it in the rotation.
yeah. I
We will
spent
be
a
checking out Mike's latest piece tonight.
Robot is asking for a link to Mike's documentary. Do we have one available for Robot?
I can get that for you.
Thank
Yeah,
you, Mike.
if you can put in the chat, Mike, that would be great.
Yeah, yeah. I'll get it in there in the next couple minutes.
Cool beans. There you go, Robot.
But yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, and the subscribers are going up continually. I mean, I got a long way to go to get to 1,000, but it's going up. And I even had a friend that, well, a guy I work with that for the last almost 6 years sent me a text the other day, said he finally checked out my YouTube channel and said, I'm really impressed. I just didn't know. So I had to ask him, what do you mean by just didn't know? He goes, well, there's people who play and there's people who play. And apparently he didn't realize,
Yeah.
I thought, okay. So anyway, you never know. Yeah, I'll get random stuff every now and then from people who are like, wow, I found you on my Apple, really good. So
There you go, Mike. You know, it's you know, oddly enough, um, my family relatives, people I'm close with rarely, my buddies rarely interact with my YouTube channel. They're just
Yeah.
into other things. We have our world, they have their worlds, but every once in a while they drop in. It's like, whoa,
Yeah, right.
interesting.
Yeah. Well, and they say friends are the worst. So,
So
Yeah.
it's better, yeah, it's better not to rely on close relatives or friends to build up your channel because it just, they have their own interests and you have your own interests, and you want people who really vibe with what you're doing to find your work. And the algorithm actually is fairly good at dishing out your stuff to people who would actually be interested in it and binge watch your content. So.
yeah. So, yeah, there you go. It's on the rise anyway. It's people aren't
Yep.
unsubscribing. That's good.
Yeah. Good. So we're going to dip back into the Fairlight, and then later we are going to hear hear and see the video for Mike's most recent
And yes, it's
release.
very different from any past videos. Let's put it that way.
All right. Well, here we go. And then we may be doing the documentary sometime in the future, too.
There you go. Well,
Really
I'm finding it now to post the link for y'all.
Yeah,
very
Robot's
good.
waiting for it. She's waiting for it. So there you
Okay.
go.
Back to the Fairlight. Where was I? Okay, so here's the beast. Let me just move on to the next slide. As I said before, it's based on the Kassar M8, and looks kind of similar, but there was refinements and changes made. The interesting thing is the Kassar and the Fairlight utilized a fairly new processor. This was like the early days of the microprocessors, and it was a chip called the 6800. And so that was kind of like the calculator of the computer, and kind of like our CPUs today. And it was like an early form factor of something small, enough that they called it a microprocessor. And so it was the 6800, and they came in touch with it from the inventor of this Kassar M8, who was a gentleman by the name of Tony First. He was Australian, and as well as the Fairlight people, who we'll meet in a minute. Well, not not personally, but I'm going to talk about him. But anyway, he was affiliated with the Canberra School of Electronic Music, and also worked for Motorola and had his own company called Creative Solutions. And he basically made this guy, and it was more of a synthesizer and sampler and workstation. And the founders of Fairlight, who we are going to talk about here, uh, were Peter Vogel and Kim Ryrie. And Kim is a gentleman, just in case. At first I thought, oh, a lady. No, it's a gentleman. But Kim Ryrie and Peter Vogel were the founders of Fairlight, and they had met in college and wanted to work in the new, you know, exciting area of computers and music as well, and felt they could make something similar to a Moog using an analog synthesizer and a computer to control it, to get better tuning and to fix some of the problems that people were having with the Moog. That changed, after they met with Tony First and saw the Kassar M8. They felt they could make something like that more commercially viable. And they didn't really care for some of the sounds of synthesizers and thought they could make more complex sounds. And a lot of people were trying to do that in different ways, but they felt a way to do that more effectively would be by sampling, recording actual sound, and you get a complex waveform, and then you can work with it. The purpose wasn't to make it sound like a realistic impersonation of those sounds, because they couldn't quite do it with the technology. Not a lot of memory, not a very high sampling rate or bit depth. And so they could only capture small snippets of lower quality sound. But that could be transformed because it would still be complex enough that it wasn't just a simple tone. And rather than working with all types of filters and things to make it a more complex sound, which I love doing, by the way, but they felt maybe a way would be to, just record in these complex sounds, and then you could transform and process them within the unit itself. Although at first it had a limited array of what you could do with it. So that's a little bit interesting, and we'll talk about that as we go. So anyway, those were the founders of Fairlight, and they met with Tony first and came up with this idea. And so it didn't go the way they were initially thinking, but they, felt that sampling might be the way to go. And so I think I talked about all that away already. Yeah, they licensed the Kassar M8 from Tony first so that they could release their version commercially. And so you could think of Tony First's creation as more of the experimental creation of something, and then the Fairlight, the Vogel and Ryrie contribution was to make it commercially viable. And so it was leaving the world of academic development and going into the world of being more of a music industry product. And so all that I know is pretty heavy words, and I'm not making any judgments. I'm just trying to explain kind of like, how the whole business deal worked out. So anyway, let us move on, unless somebody has some questions or wants to interrupt my monotone voice for a little bit. I don't know. I hear Liza out in the kitchen, so she's not even in her studio. I sent her away.
Making you dinner, man,
No, I think she's getting some ice and something to drink. So
I was
anyway,
a little pleasantly surprised after, you sent me the email earlier today, and I was like, that almost sounds familiar. And so I got into my DAW, and Arturia makes,
yeah, the V7 collection.
yes, and I actually have that. So I was like, holy shit. So I played around with it for a little bit. I'll play around with it some more tomorrow probably. But yeah, I actually have the VST version of this.
Well, there are a couple. There's the V collection and then the UVI collection, which is a different company. And then there is a free emulator out there that's released on the donation, donate what you feel you
Quasar
can
Beach
contribute
by
model.
Adam Strange.
Yeah, Adam Strange,
Yeah.
Kassar Beach. And I downloaded it. I think the Linux version is a little out of date. Even for something retro like this, it's a little out of date because it's not finding my MIDI or audio. But for Mac users, I know that one's really up to date because I think that's what Adam Strange uses. And for the PC users, Windows users, I assume it works okay. I didn't try it through Wine because I didn't really want to get that heavily involved. I'll check into it more later, but
Well, I have Windows, so yeah, maybe
yeah,
I'll
give it a shot.
Maybe I'll download it and check it out.
But that does also include the limitations of what the device had at the time, except for some saving of elements and things. But it is something where it's about getting into experiencing the instrument as it was in a way, and using some key commands as well as the mouse, because the instrument did have the mouse. But if you want to just record some samples and get going quickly and efficiently, it may not be that because it still is going to work like that computer did. And
Right.
it's trying to emulate that. So you may find it to be a little like the menu and everything is like it was, and you use numbers or the mouse to select different menu items. It's like black background, green LED, or I don't even know if it was LED then. Was it LCD or I don't know. But, like the old computer monocles, green monitors, green on black, you know.
Right.
And so, but anyway, it's
what
still
little
fun.
I checked out sounded very 80s, which is what it
Yeah.
is. So,
Well, and that's what you do want is you do want the sound. If you want to use a Fairlight CMI plugin, you do want it to sound like it too. That's the whole purpose.
right. So yeah, well, I don't, not having an actual Fairlight, I don't know, but what I checked out, the half dozen sounds that I checked out, they all sounded very 80s. So
Well, yeah.
so there you go.
But sometimes you want that, I guess. And
Well,
I'm just turning off my audio monitoring here. I think I've been speaking really slow because I'm hearing myself at the same time as speaking, and I'm not used to that.
oh no.
All right. So anyway, let us move onwards. But
Let us move on.
okay, yeah. So is there anything here that I make these slides mostly to remind me, and okay, let's look at some of these specifications here. It could sample like the first edition. Now, like the Kessar Beach and probably some of the other plugins, probably model later editions where some of these early limitations got improved, but the first edition could only sample like no more than a second. It was even just under a second's worth of sound. And it would use a sampling rate that was like 8 bits, and it was 24K sampling rate. So it's like half of what the minimum is today, really. So you wouldn't be capturing some of the highs in the frequency spectrum or some of the lows. It would be a lot of middle range that you would be recording with that. And let's see here. It had 8 voice polyphony, basically. You could play 8 sounds at the same time, or if it was supposed to be different notes of the same sound, you could only do 8 at the same time. So if you were sampling different keys on a piano, you could only play 8 different keys at the same time. So you could play 8-note chords, which is actually pretty good. A lot of synthesizers at the time were monophonic, or the polyphony might have been 4 and stuff. So that's actually, pretty good. It's not an unheard of limitation for the time. And let's see here. Fairlight CMI, there's another picture of it. Now it came with 1 keyboard. There's, I guess maybe later editions had 2 keyboards or options. There is, not to be confusing, there is a modern or more modern version of it in 2009. Fairlight, like the founders got back together and basically released another one, a 30th anniversary in 2009. So that one is definitely vastly improved in some of the limitations. Well, while still trying to stay true to especially creating sounds in a very similar way and having them sound very similar, because there were sounds that were definitely considered to be Fairlight sounds, especially the ones it came with, like an orchestra hit that became quite, I guess, shall we say, ubiquitous and frequently used. Do I have my wife back?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I heard that you did sneak out to the kitchen there.
Well, I had to sneak out to the porch too because it's raining and the kitties were getting wet. So
Oh,
I had to
no.
bring them in, give them food so they're not upset, and then I got a piece of cheese because I'm starving.
Oh, well, yes, we'll be handling that soon. At least we're starting earlier, so we'll be ending earlier. Here we go. Just more things about this first edition, and then we're going to hear something. We're going to see a video clip and see a Fairlight being talked about and in use. Let's see here. It was the first to use the name sampling or sampler in that way. Sampling in general is basically does refer to digital audio. Basically, sound vibrations are converted into an electrical signal, which is analog. And then that electrical signal then needs to be converted into ones and zeros or binary code. And that conversion process is called sampling because basically it reads the fluctuating voltage current, which is fluctuating up and down like a sine wave vibrating. And it basically, that's called sampling. It's like just trying to measure the voltage at any given point in time, which is done at what's called the sampling rate. So today, like bare minimum for music, we would use 44,100. That means 44,100 times per second. An analog to digital converter is reading the voltage current and measuring it. And so that's a lot of times per second, you know? And so that's what we need for CD quality audio at least.
It's 48. Has that been 48K? Has
Yeah,
that been
48 is pretty
declared?
standard for computers now. I remember it was something that a few computers did, or you had an external interface, but gradually got more and more. But 48 is pretty standard now, especially now. It took a while because 48
Yeah.
sampling rate was used in DVDs for, since the inception of DVD, and that's nothing really new,
Right.
so, but it took like maybe I would say around 2010, I guess it became standard to have 48K.
Yeah, that's kind of when you start opening a session in a DAW and the default is 48K and 24-bit, right?
Yeah, unfortunately to me, like 2010 feels like yesterday.
No, to me too.
Yeah, it's
To
like,
me
damn,
too.
2025. I'm still staggering to think of that number. But anyway, it had attack, decay, and sustain. And I've looked around, and from everything I read, I haven't seen release in there. So I guess all the notes got cut off. And actually, you hear some of the sounds. I do hear a pretty quick cutoff on some of the, so at least in the first edition, it had attack, decay, sustain, and then also vibrato. I guess you could probably use the vibrato to kind of fake a little bit of a cutoff there that depends on how slow it is.
That's weird.
But it had vibrato, so it had an LFO for, I guess a digital LFO for creating, a fluctuation of frequency that we call vibrato. And it had, 500K kilobytes. That's what the floppy drives could store. I remember those 512K and the 5 1/4, but these were 8-inch. I guess they were also about 500K. And in the floppy drive, and the RAM on the computer was only 208 kilobytes of RAM.
Oh man.
So that's what was storing things, and so it had to be a low sampling rate and less than a second. That's all you could get into the memory, and even then there was probably some processing to bring the size down. So I'm going to play video clip 1 so I don't have to keep talking all the time. Let's see here. Video clip 1. And
Good one.
this is going to be, I believe, Peter Vogel talking about the Fairlight. Remember, one of the founders of the Fairlight company. And let's see here. I am browsing.
Founders. Yeah. Is he a shapeshifter? Ha ha ha. I know. Only Star Trek people will get
Yeah,
that,
we've been
right?
doing DS9 for the last few weeks. It's been our evening entertainment before bed.
Yes,
Yeah,
Hey, that's good entertainment, man.
it is.
it is.
So here we go.
Free as that. This week, Australia's biggest ever computer exhibition was held in Sydney. For 3 days, the display centre
Fairlight was also based in Australia. So let's say, Viva Australia.
Viva Australia.
Hello, Bruce.
Hello, Bruce.
Oh gosh. Wait, are you quoting a Monty Python? here?
Yeah, the School of Philosophy in Australia,
Did you
which was
not
right next
know?
to the School of Electronic Music.
That's right.
So all the men were named Bruce?
That's
Oh,
it,
gosh.
Bruce. Even the lady was named Bruce. Even in the Hollywood Bowl, at least. So here we go.
That centre point was filled with silicon chips and floppy disks and liquid crystal display units.
LCD. That's right. I was like saying LED. I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, LCD.
For my money, the star of the show was this, the Fairlight computer musical instrument. It's $26,000 worth of electronic wizardry that's been developed over the last 5 years by Kim Ryrie and Peter Vogel. Peter, show us the amazing things it can do.
Well, here we're using a computer to actually generate the sounds that we hear. So instead of having vibrating strings or air columns like in conventional instruments, the computer generates the sound that we want. The important thing is the ease with which the musician can define to the computer, this is the sort of sound I want, please make it for me.
Now, I do want to ask Liza here, now that you see this gentleman, Peter Vogel, back in the day, this was the look that a lot of those tech gurus had back then.
Really?
And I'm wondering, I was wondering if he was a real inventor. Well, I guess he wasn't totally the real inventor, and neither was Kim Ryrie because of Tony First being the core inventor. At least they're honest about, licensing the unit. And so the Kassar M8, but I know that like today, you look at some of these people that are supposedly the founders of Silicon Valley, like, did they really do that?
Interesting question.
Yes. Well, we know that Bill Gates, like Microsoft DOS really was originally, from Seattle Dynamics, but it was called,
it's all mythology around Bill Gates.
yeah, but it was purchased basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, let's keep going. I don't want to divert this into a slippery slope with rocks at the bottom. So here we go.
Now, to make that easy, we've created a light pen system, which is this device here, that allows
Oh,
you
they didn't create it. They just improved on it. The light pen was in the original Kassar as well.
to draw directly onto this television screen the harmonic curves of the sound.
Now, this is the picture of a sound. That's what the sound looks like.
So yeah, you could draw like this is a sound frequency spectrum. The closer to you would be lower harmonics, and further away. Now it's kind of going off to the left and stuff, like in a 3D type of look. But basically, that was increasing in frequency, the harmonics and partials in the sound, and you could actually draw them in and so forth. So that was like,
Isn't there a free piece of software that does that now called Spear?
Well, Spear does it over time, where you can draw in harmonics and partials over time, as well as edit and transform them. Yeah, that it is a fast Fourier transform software that is free and out there if you want to. Unfortunately, they don't have a Linux version,
Oh,
but they do have Mac and Windows, and I remember using it in the past on Windows. It was pretty cool. I could probably use it through Wine. But in any case, yeah, that is out there, but that's a little different. This is drawing it for your sample. So it does have a little bit of time there, but since your samples are less than a second, it's a short amount of time. And so you could actually draw the change of your harmonic and partial content over time, so your frequency spectrum. So, yeah, it had some really cool features that you would still think today, it's like, hey, it's nice to be able to do that. Of course, it's easier today, but, you think for the time, that was a really nice feature.
Like to the computer, so that we know what sound the computer's thinking about. Would you like to show us what sound that
Well,
is?
this particular spectrum sounds like this.
Right. Well, now, how does a composer working with the CMI, the Fairlight, change that?
Well, I might select
Now, you would be, to this point, making sounds like that, maybe using FM, frequency modulation, because that was a great way of making some of these sounds that were like bell-related, like either bell tones or wooden resonant blocks like marimbas and things like that. Yeah, the FM was used to do that, where you basically had another oscillator oscillating a carrier oscillator to create complexity in the spectrum. But at this time, they decided to take a different approach and get that complexity by actually recording something and sampling it. And then what you would do is loop the middle part so that any sound that like had like the attack of a mallet and would ring out, you would basically loop that middle part, but you'd have to work with it and transform it so it sounded okay. Because even though it would never sound completely realistic, you didn't want it to be going whoa, 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 like in the middle, as like amplitude or some other things change as it loops. So you had to make that loop sound like more like a sustain rather than something that had a bit of glitching in it or wobbling. So still wasn't easy to do.
Select to change one of these harmonics. So I've taken the 5th harmonic here, and I'm just working on that curve on its own, drawing a new one. So now that curve swells up towards the end there.
That's
And I'll make the
crazy.
10th harmonic do a similar sort of thing. And when I hit the compute command here, the computer's now thinking about the curves I've drawn here and calculating the sound that, if fed into a spectrum analyzer, would look like that, and that'll sound a bit different. You can hear the higher harmonics growing in the duration.
Yeah, so that kind of whistly sound in the upper harmonics, that was basically what he just drew to transform
Wow,
the
that
sound.
is really advanced for the 70s.
79. Well, they were starting to work on it in 75. They founded Fairlight, and it took some years. Yeah, even beginning with the Kassar, it took some years to make it something that they felt was commercially viable. And
Nice, yeah.
Of the sound. And that's the kind of experimentation that a composer would engage in. But if he wanted a particular sound, the sound of a church bell or a trumpet or a violin, what does he do?
Well, in those circumstances, we can simply plug a microphone into the machine and tell it, okay, computer, here's a sample.
I love it. It makes buzzing sounds and stuff like that. Like when you hit enter, you hear this. Because I don't know what happened. I don't know. Maybe a gerbil inside had to run over and do something or run in its wheel. I don't know.
knows? Yeah.
Are you okay, Mike?
Yeah. I'm
You
good.
can jump anytime you want.
You're doing just fine, man.
Okay.
Well, I was trying to jump back over to the chat because I missed something, and Scott had my back. Thank you, Scott.
What happened?
Someone was trying to find my YouTube, and
Oh, okay.
Scott
Oh.
bailed me out. And
Scott
Melanie
is
for subscribing. So
Yay.
Scott is the
sometimes I get
bomb.
yeah. I don't think I've caught up. My brain is like, I don't know.
It's still in Ohio.
It might be in Ohio. Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, I was jumping back to the chat there for a minute. So
Awesome.
Yeah. Melanie pinpointed the source for that sound, and it was a tribble inside the computer. Yeah.
Oh, a tribble.
It's
Oh,
a tribble.
they get into just about everything.
Yeah, everything. They're a menace. That's why the Klingon Empire had to eradicate them.
that's right.
Yeah.
A tribble. Well.
Yeah, you know what? I should start doing some like techno and stuff like that and call myself Dead Tribble.
Dead you can't, no. It's something
I
more
like it.
original.
And have one of those big helmets on with like lights in the place of eyes and
Hey, do not
cover it in fur though.
do not knock Dead Mouse. The
I'm
guy
not knocking it.
is a
I'm-
genius.
I want to follow that path to
Yeah. Have you?
success.
I'm on board,
Yeah.
man. Dead tribble sounds cool to me.
Okay, Dead Tribble. Let's see. Well, you need a Tribble costume for sure.
Yeah,
Where are you gonna get that?
I think your mom could make one.
Yeah, she probably. So,
No,
don't
you just see dead
suggest it
tribbles all over
because
the stage.
It would have to be imitation fur because I don't want any animals to perish.
right. Well, you can get that at Walmart. She'll
I'm
make
sure you
one
can buy
for
some
you.
tribbles, no doubt.
Oh yeah.
That's all you need. You just need a bunch of tribbles all over your keyboard, everywhere.
Yep.
It's all over the stage.
Yep. Can be done.
And then you have something that, some kind of container, and you open it, and all these tribbles fall out.
There you go.
Yeah, classic scene.
Absolutely.
There we go. For anybody that doesn't know what we're talking about, watch Star Trek.
Yeah.
The original series and then the DS9
I mean,
homage to it was pretty cool.
Is there anyone in the chat who's not a Trekkie?
I don't think
doubt
so.
that.
I
I
think
think
they
everyone
left us a
here.
long time ago. They were.
No. Yeah, well, yeah, maybe a long time ago. It's like we only have Trekkies and Star Wars people in the chat, so we're good.
Of the sound
Oh
that I
my God,
want.
these things are
See what-
expensive, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, tribbles are all over the place, but anywhere.
Oh, I thought you were talking about a Fairlight.
No, oh
Oh,
no,
he's
no.
looking up triples.
Yeah,
They sell them
anywhere
on
from
Amazon.
well, you got them. Etsy is about the cheapest I see, $6,
Mm-hmm.
$8, all the way up to $99. So
Well, that's a sign of the times. You can't even buy a tribble for less than
I
$5.
guess it
Yeah.
depends on if they're authorized Star Trek, because this one on eBay since 1995, and it's got a little Star Trek label. So
Oh, you
Well,
mean
they're-
people are selling the original
Well, they're collector's
props?
yes,
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
they had a lot of them, didn't you see?
yeah, I'm sure the
Yeah.
Etsy one is probably somebody making them more than likely. But there you go. Just so you know, they're available. Yeah, the more spendy ones, maybe they make the sound.
I would hope that they make the sound if you're going to spend that much on a tribble.
Yeah, but the prices are all over the place. So, but there you go, folks. Get your tribble.
All righty. And
Now,
you continue.
I feel like I've contributed.
Oh, thank you. We always love it when you do.
Do it. So,
Oh, wait, look
example,
here.
if you want-
It's Melanie says, seriously, we had a student concert here in Modesto, California a few years ago where they played the Star Trek theme and other sci-fi themes, and the conductor wore a gold command uniform and their tribbles.
Tribbles.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. I would have gone to that concert and paid for it, Melanie.
Yeah.
Robot. I would have.
Yeah, I'd probably have a blue uniform. From the original series.
Be
Like,
the
not that I'm
science-
a doctor, but science.
Science officer. Yes.
Ah,
They
Damn
have
it, Jim.
some nice Star Trek dresses on Amazon. I'm thinking about it.
ooh.
Oh,
Damn
yeah.
it, Jim. I'm a musician, not a doctor.
what can you say? Blah.
La.
And there's a picture of that blah.
Right, so that's the trace of that, and you can then put that through the unit. That's rather cute, isn't it? What about natural sounds? If you want to get the sound of the sea built into a piece of music, something of that sort.
I've got something here which is quite a good example of that. This is a group
Oh,
of
I love that. Mechanical keyboard and then a buzz at the end. I love that.
Awesome.
natural sounds
Awesome.
which were recorded by this technique.
Whoa, had
but then
style.
used in a musical sort of way, and this was done by a
Is that
Sydney
a
composer.
Print- Printer in
disk
the back
drive.
or
No,
something?
that's the floppy drive.
Oh, man.
I remember my first one did sound very similar to that. Yeah. Oh, I remember those days, man.
Okay.
Yeah, even the 3.5 inches did buzz and stuff.
Yes. No, now that you mention it, I do recall that it did make that sound.
Yeah.
Especially when you inserted a disc. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Those were the days.
Hey, my first keyboard had a floppy drive.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I still. Oh no, we threw it out because it was all messed
No,
up.
I
but-
have.
No, I meant the one I had, the Yamaha SY77. It had a 3.5 inch drive.
I had a Casio and a Yamaha with a floppy drive.
A Casio with a floppy drive.
Ooh.
Wow. That must have been a high end Casio.
Well, my pa got it for me when I turned 15, I think. No. Earlier than that.
It had to be.
Yeah. Yes. Although my pa went for old school stuff when he was helping me put together my little studio,
Yeah.
yeah, because he liked old school stuff.
So do we. Look at what we're watching.
Yeah, cool.
writing a
beans.
piece for an experimental theatre work, in which the scene was someone making a cup of tea, and it had to be reminiscent of making tea and also be music at the same time to fit in with the whole thing.
Right.
So what the machine is loading now is the sounds of
It's still loading. Oh my
making
God.
tea. Got first of all pouring water, then we'll throw the spoon in, stir it around a bit.
What?
And you can play those sounds like a piece of music.
Right.
You could hear the looping and stuff too.
Yeah.
Like the first one, that sounded almost reverby, but it wasn't. It was actually loop repeating, kind of creating the echo
pitch to
effect.
the keyboard.
Yeah.
Different speeds. That's the other way you could get different effects, is basically by playing it at different pitches depending on what key you press.
Super cool.
Or you can have them simultaneously.
That's rather delightful. Now, the machine can do
But the sound is good.
Yeah.
It sounds good to me.
just about everything. Can it play itself, as it were?
Sure, that's another thing that the computer is very useful for. A lot of musicians can't play the keyboard, such as myself, and so I was forced to invent some way of doing it. And for that purpose, there's a special language called music composition language, which is very easy for a musician to use.
Yeah, that's the language for the device itself.
Okay.
Composition language. MCL. That's the first edition. Then they did a different one. The first one did have a sequencer, but the next one had a different sequencer that was a little more advanced and a little more user-friendly. That called Page R, which we'll get to in a bit.
Wherein you just type in, I want you to play this particular piece on this particular instrument, that on a different instrument, and you type in each note. So you type in A, B, C, D. In
And the computer does it.
way. Then the computer will play it all simultaneously.
How about showing us a bit there? So type in, you've got some pieces of music that in fact the computer has already learnt, is that correct?
That's right. I think the best thing would be is if Michael Carlos demonstrates it to you.
In fact, Michael Carlos composed and
Cut to a different person. This is Michael Carlos, composer, and one of the people that used Fairlight, especially to demonstrate it.
played the theme for the ABC series Time-Lapse entirely on the Fairlight instrument, and by our own piece of electronic wizardry, Michael is here now. Michael, as a musician, how do you feel about the Fairlight?
Oh, it's very exciting. A whole new possibilities and avenues of approach are open to the composer.
You don't feel like a technician, you feel like a musician using it?
No, not at all. Don't feel like a technician. No, it's
Well-
removed most of that because it's a lot simpler to look at than conventional analog synthesizers.
Show us what you can do. Play us a bit of time-lapse.
Sure.
That's super cool.
Yeah, I think it was an Australian series. So anyway, there we go. That's the theme for that series, composed by
Yeah.
Michael Carlos. So anyway, let us get back to our slides and keep moving along here. Let's see here. First edition. So we just did the first edition. I'm going to move on to the second edition. I believe that would be logical for that to come next. Oh no, what comes next is Peter Gabriel, who I am not imitating with my avatar.
Not well.
No.
At least not successfully.
But anyway, Vogel went to the UK from Australia, long flight, to visit Peter Gabriel and stayed there for about a week, just showing him off because Gabriel was about to start his third album. Peter Gabriel's solo albums after Genesis, the first four had unique names to it. Like they didn't really have a title on them per se. It was like an image, and it was just called Peter Gabriel. And the third one is the one that people call Melt, because it was like him melting on the cover. And so that's the album that we're talking about that started using the Fairlight in it. And he used it even afterwards, like even the flute sound in Sledgehammer was a Fairlight sound.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, yes, the iconic
Yeah, the
flute
chicken
sound.
dance.
The chicken dance, yes.
That chicken dance. Oh, yeah.
I don't know any album of his before So.
No, these were they were good albums. I mean, definitely different because they were still very experimental. And Genesis kind of started that way. They were experimental,
Yes, they did.
and yeah,
Well, the interesting thing is, I'm not sure exactly what year, early '80s, sometime. I saw Peter Gabriel in Dayton, Ohio, and the
Oh.
place, it was smaller arena, and there was maybe 2 to 3 thousand people there, so it was like half full. And
hmm
about 6 months later, Sledgehammer came out. He came to Cincinnati and sold out.
Yeah.
wow,
So that quick, and I don't think that's I mean it's a good song, but I I like his earlier stuff better. But anyway,
yeah.
there's my
I
funny
mean, I even
Gabriel
I
story.
like a lot of his later stuff too, but just not necessarily that one. I think maybe it's overplayed, and then also at the same time, yeah, it is definitely more commercial sounding. Although for commercial music, it definitely has its quirks and uniqueness to it. And that's something I love about Peter Gabriel's. He can make some things sound,
Right, right.
so approachable, but at the same time, really interesting. And even the stuff that is more poppy.
Well, yeah, and it was just nice to see him before that tour because, obviously he went more poppy after that. So,
Yeah, I
Mm.
mean, but like some of my favorite songs are like "The Blood of Eden" from Us.
Mercy
Um,
Street.
yeah, that was a good song. A lot of great songs. Okay, so
Yeah.
anyway,
yeah,
he basically Gabriel loved it and played around with it a lot, and during that week, and then not only decided to buy one, he also was set up as a distributor so that he could receive in these Fairlights and among artists help promote it. And Kate Bush bought one afterwards. I am going to play a video clip too, but since we have
Is
it
that
coming up, I might as
the
well mention the artist.
the lady he did the duet with?
Yeah,
Oh,
I think it was "Don't Give Up,"
yeah,
the
Don't Give Up.
studio version,
Yeah.
and yeah, they had collaborated, and so she bought one 1980, and yes, indeed, we try not to give up here. Thomas Dolby, another of your favorites,
Ooh,
Liza.
Thomas Dolby.
hmm
Yes. Wow. Okay.
And Liza's favorite is not "She Blinded Me with Science," but also she really loves "The Gate to the Mind's Eye." He did
Yes.
the music for that one.
Love
That
that.
was the one that came after Jan Hammer's "Gate to the Mind's Eye." And Jan Hammer, coincidentally enough, used a Fairlight. In fact, he
Oh.
used a Fairlight to do the theme for Miami Vice.
Wow. Okay. This thing has been everywhere. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
might have been a
been around the
second
block a
edition.
few
I'm
times.
not sure, but yeah, it was definitely one of the editions of the Fairlight. But these are artists that got like the first edition. Herbie Hancock and Stevie
Of
Wonder
course.
from the U.S. And in the U.S. it cost them each 25,000. So, but then you hear the number 26,000. That might have been Australian dollars. Usually things do cost a little bit more in Australian dollars, but
Thomas Dolby has really cool live streams, or he used to produce really cool live streams for YouTube. Perform a lot of his stuff live, but with him, just himself on a computer with Ableton on it and a DJ setup. Guy's super cool.
yeah, especially if you interact with the audience and everything.
He was super cool. I was surprised he doesn't have many subs though. I subbed immediately, of course.
Well, that's the thing. After some hits, I mean, it's only people that really got attracted to his music and then listened to more. And, are not a lot of people. Here's the thing, and this is a big difference between, I guess, some of the more artistic pop music and just the general pop music, is that a lot of the people out there don't necessarily listen to the music. It's just there in the background, or it's there as a social thing, a social construct, but it's not really something where they lay there with headphones on, listening to it from beginning to end, paying attention to everything that happens. A lot of people don't do that. And so
Right.
some of these artists, they may have had some hits, but it wasn't necessarily the hits that was the things that are the most gripping music, So they don't notice that, and then when someone like Thomas Dolby goes to, create what he really wants to and everything like that afterwards, they don't continue to pay attention, I guess, So,
He has really cool, like, old videos of him giving a tour of his synth studio. Guy's a tremendous synthesist.
yeah.
I mean, I'm surprised we haven't covered his channel here on Earworms.
Well, we
But
will eventually. I mean, I got to save some so we don't run out.
and
Exactly.
he also has some educational materials for producers on his channel. He's a cool guy, and he has a cat. He's a cool
Well,
guy.
there you go.
I was sold. I was
Now
sold.
you're talking.
Yes,
He's got a cat.
he does.
So anyway, folks, scoop.
Scoopity poop.
Scoopity whoop, poop, whoop.
Do you guys know what we're talking about? I hope you do. Or else you think
Yeah.
we're crazy.
I'm sure people have heard that.
I know I'm
before.
crazy.
No,
Wait,
no, that's
Mike,
the.
Mike, Mike doesn't know. You have to inform Mike.
Well, I don't know. It's probably the only. I think it's the best work that
It's a
Kanye
genius.
West ever
Oh,
did
this
was
is genius.
well, it's called "Lift Yourself," but them bars, them bars, yeah, of Scoopity.
I
Poop.
thought when my
Oh.
students came in singing it, they were messing around and pulling my leg, but then they showed me a video, and I'm like,
Well, it wasn't a video. He didn't make a video. He just released it for
well,
free.
it was on YouTube, and
Yeah, and it got on
showed-
YouTube, and then people started going crazy with it because they didn't expect that. But I think it was the best thing he did, because in that one, it's almost like saying, yeah, nothing about this is serious.
Well, it's like what my mother says: create fame and then go to bed.
I didn't think he went to bed. I think he intentionally just wanted to play with people and stuff.
Well, I mean, I don't know to this day if he was just having fun and it was like supposed to be funny, or he was implying that, he's so famous and he has so many great followers that that they'll follow him no matter what shit he put out. So I don't know what.
Well, I think it's the best thing he put out. But anyway,
I mean, I don't know what was going through his mind, though. Was it a legit supposed to be funny, having a laugh with his audience type thing, and like a fun thing, which is, I think intention when it comes to composition is important. I
Yeah.
don't like pieces that rub poop in the face of an audience that
no, I don't
likes
think
you.
this was. I think it was having fun. I really don't think he was trying to insult people, because he wouldn't make something that was so funny like that,
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping, because I remember we
Yeah.
had so much fun talking about that with our pinchos in class. It was fun times.
Well,
times.
it's great to see like some artists not take
Not
themselves
take
as
themselves
seriously.
that seriously.
Yeah.
But again, with people in Hollywood, you never know.
Now, as
It's
far as the
like-
other stuff he does, I can't even keep track. He's all over the place, so I have no commentary on that. But this song I thought was funny, and I enjoyed it, and it's still there, man. So anyway, let's move on.
Moving right along.
Oh, wait,
Pedro.
Jeux sans frontières, déclare l'ancien leader de Genesis, qui donne ici un cours d'échantillonnage, sampling en anglais, et prédit
It's not all in French. Peter Gabriel does speak in English coming up, so don't worry. But enjoy the French while it lasts.
l'avènement proche de la world music. La qualité technique de l'image n'est pas parfaite, mais pour les enfants du rock, quel scoop!
I'm certain the third world is going to have an increasing influence on our culture. And in music, a very vigorous hybrid will be produced, which is based on this non-European influence and the new technology, which is going to get very, very cheap. And this facility will open up a new age of electronic skiffle.
So anyway, let me just talk a little bit about what he's talking about. This is where he's beginning his foray into more world music type of stuff, which I loved. Great addition to his palette, but also he saw it as something where there are artists all around the world, and many of them in third world countries, that were really talented, and he wanted to see if there was ways to help them break out and get their music out there more and more listeners. And I think some other artists did that. I know like Paul Simon got into that as well, and he even produced some albums by South African artists, and not that it was purely a third world country, but anyway, so but Peter Gabriel, the same type of thing, where he also produced albums by some of the contributors to Passion, the music for the Last Temptation of Christ, and other things that happened later. But in these early stages, it was also a thought that, a lot of people maybe don't read music and or have the ability to, because this is at a time where you couldn't really do sequencing like you can today. If you wanted to write music, you had to write it down or memorize it. It would either be just oral tradition. There was no in between, either oral tradition or written music, where you really had to understand the language. Yeah. And especially if you're doing multiple instruments and things, you're doing scores and all that. And this was to kind of like, they saw it as a way to break down some barriers in a way through the long learning process, to be able to just more in a tactile way, kind of like hear sound from playing a keyboard, make sound by recording it in and using computers. It's a whole different craft, though. So that becomes even more complex over time and becomes something that you need to learn as well. Although today, they do make it fairly easy for you to just have GarageBand and just make something in it, But how much of that is being made, and how much of it is like stuff that comes with the software. So anyway. But I just wanted to point that out, that they had a vision for this at this time, that this type of instrument. Now, the thing is, it costs $25,000.
Prohibitive. For, yeah.
And that's back then.
Yeah.
That was a house then.
More than that. More than a house, right?
Well, at least a house. We'll just stick with it.
I'd say a house, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it depends on what kind of house, but
Yeah.
your average house.
Yeah.
Just a side note, his vocal stylings are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
He's awesome.
Well, hi there. Yeah. See, if I pick up this mic, for an example, and press S for sample, we can put in the sound, I hope. Mummy! Over here we have Mummy, the waveform, and it should be up on the keyboard.
Probably external reverb being added there.
Yeah.
Going through an analog reverb unit.
I hope to use the Fairlight to give me some of the unusual soundscapes with which I'm going to try and make this record different. On toe windscreen, take one. 1, 2, 3, 4. TV smash, take one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Great. Take two.
Nope.
Bit more force. 1, 2, 3, 4.
No.
Just the wind on the pipe is quite nice. Okay. Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
Where are we, 7 or something? I get this bastard! 1, 2, 3, 4. I think we did it!
That sounded longer than a second. But
It's
anyway,
a little bit stretched when they played it back.
yeah, maybe. Oh yeah,
but-
could have played it back at a slower speed.
I mean, it sounds hi-fi.
Yeah, there was some decent processing in there, at least to clean things up. You know, whether it's sounds realistic enough or not, I don't know. But it was definitely, there was some processing going on there that cleaned things up. It didn't sound as dirty as some other samplers, like they even came later. Definitely. And speaking of Casio and dirty sounding samples.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's keep going. Yeah.
Keep going.
Oh, it looks good. Yeah, all the sounds on this thing are stored on these floppy disks, and some of these are supplied with the machine. This has a list of all the different sounds available on this floppy disk. So I pull out my phallic symbol here and point it at the appropriate noise. Say this is Pet Swan,
What was that
which
all
is a
about?
modified.
I pull out my phallic symbol here and point it at the appropriate noise.
What is this guy smoking?
Well, this is before Sledgehammer.
Oh, okay, that explains it. He was
when he was
working on
shocking the monkey.
Sledgehammer. Okay, yeah.
I don't know if he had shocked the monkey yet, but neither. But
I don't
he
know what
broke
that
TVs.
means. Don't want to know what that means.
Well, I looked it up. Shock the Monkey was on his 4th record. I think this was
Okay.
on his 3rd record.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Oh, it's an album name. Okay, I didn't
Well,
know
no, it was
no,
a
Shock the
song.
Monkey was a song on his 4th album.
that. Okay, I don't know that
I was
song.
curious, so I looked it up.
Alrighty.
Scott.
The monkey.
Swanee whistle. There's a repeat built into it, and the rhythm of the repeat is something which really really excited me, and I've written a song around the rhythm.
Yeah, that's the less than a second sample just being repeated.
So there, I was thinking of a rhythm that would go against it. At this point, I've only got outline ideas for lyrics, so I use odd sounds and noises from the voice, which I call Gabrielese. I think often that the naked sound of the voice is more emotive without lyrics, and I intend there to be less lyrics on this album. I'm trying to enlarge what I do with my voice, not through technique, but through just the sounds. I think we all make noises, and particularly when we get involved or emotional about something, the colors and the tones of those noises change. And say in black music, they're all represented. So you get these and guttural noises which are very much built into the rhythms and to the atmosphere of the whole and to the tension and excitement of it. Whereas, say, in opera, you have this very abstracted form of singing through a brilliant technique often, but for me as a listener, it doesn't have the emotional impact that I get when I listen to great soul or blues music.
Smash the radio. Smash the watch, take the shreds. Smash the camera, steal away the spirits. The rhythm is around me, the rhythm has control. The rhythm is inside me, the rhythm has my soul. And I think in rock as a whole, there have been many great songs which have had really appalling lyrics, but there have been no great songs which have had appalling music. So I think there is, one, that priority at work, but if you're going to write lyrics, you might as well make them as potent as you can and try and communicate something.
Mister, I just want to answer a question from Robot.
Okay, go ahead.
Robot is looking for notation software, and there's a free one that I can recommend to you called MuseScore. MuseScore. I'll put it in the chat. I used to use Finale, but the company that maintained it went out of business. I don't like Sibelius, and MuseScore is just as functional. So in many ways, it works like a DAW. You could just hook up a MIDI keyboard, set your tempo, set the quantization settings, and play, and you will have notation spit out for you. If you're that's accurate. If you're tempo, quantization settings, and time signature are set correctly. So yeah, cool beans. I'll put it in the chat.
That might be a good series idea for you. Maybe doing some MuseScore tutorials, because when I was trying to, I've come from Finale, and that's been years since I've used it, but in checking out MuseScore a few weeks ago, I was like, I was like, all right, I was able to kind of figure some things out, but I need a little help, and so I'm looking at some of the tutorials out there, and they're not great, at least in my opinion.
Oh man, I'm to be honest, I have no interest in doing tutorials on music notation.
Okay. All right.
No.
Well, let us move on, because I think we've actually gotten to a part of the video where it may need to be clipped out later. I don't know, because of copyright, who knows. But anyway, let us move onward. At least, fortunately, most of the stuff we're doing is probably not a copyright issue, but as soon as he started singing, it sounded like an album almost. It's like, uh-oh. Even the old albums, they want, if you used 5 seconds of this, we want all the monetization for that 2-hour stream. And we need to earn a little bit of money in order to pay for EV Mux.
Yep.
All right. What
Your
are we
robot
doing?
is the link.
Okay.
And it's free. Haha.
This is more than just a stream. It's a service. Here we go. Second edition. There we go. Now, in this edition, the MCL language was considered to be a little bit too complicated, and it'd be easier for artists to interact with it a different way. And so they used a sequencer now called Page R, which was a different sequencer, meaning like an on-screen, like digital audio workstation sequencing software. I remember my first was Cakewalk Pro Audio 3.0, which was in like awesome. 94, 95.
I had Cakewalk Home Studio.
That was at then
1995.
The company
97,
was called,
excuse me.
Got to get that right.
Yes.
The company was called 12 Tone Systems to begin with, then eventually just Cakewalk Music, and unfortunately not around anymore. I mean, the software is still out there from BandLab, but I don't know what the hell they're doing. They're just all sorts of weird.
BandLab is growing into something. Don't write it off. Some interesting things happening on their website. Some free AI mastering plugin.
Yeah, I know that one of the guys that I follow who's a Linux musician also was able to use Wine and got Sonar to work on Wine. The thing is, they're not keeping up with sonar and keeping it.
No, it's.
You know.
I mean, no one's maintaining sonar.
That's why
now.
I'm on Bitwig now. Well, anyway, and let's move on. PageR, sequencing, and
Yep.
all that. It was easier. It was nice. It was festival of joy. So anyway, it's still harder than what we got today, I'm sure. I remember actually my first sequencer was actually before Cakewalk. That was the one that I bought. The one I had before came with something that was called Voyetra, I think, and it was like and it was it was something where you typed keys and stuff like that on the keyboard, like the
What?
computer keyboard rather than even
What?
mouse.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it wasn't a point and click thing,
Oh.
but yeah, that was rough. Cakewalk saved the day. Next, we have here more sampling memory. That's nice. So you can record longer samples and a higher sampling rate. We see below it got it up to 32K sampling rate. And discrete voice cards. So now it truly became something where each sample could be on a separate card and completely separate channels and everything. Basically, more improvements along the way. And then the third edition in 1985. Second edition was 1982. 85 improved the graphics on the screen and it had a hard drive now. Which was a big plus because then you could store it internally and not have all these tons of floppy disks, although I guess they're good as backups. But as far as loading and saving and stuff like that, taking one out, popping another one in and hear it grind away for a little bit, it takes time. And so it's smoother doing it on a hard drive. And they finally got it up to 16-bit 44.1K sampling rate. And so here we go. We're already getting to the CD standard.
Wow.
And I forget, what year was the CD? Was it 88?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
Could always Google that.
Okay.
When was the CD standard released? I think it was 88. So at least, that's what the sampling rate and bit depth were for CD, meaning this is what they felt, and it was proven with the Nyquist theorem that in order to accurately capture the audible spectrum, you needed to be recording at least 44,100 samples per second.
1982, buddy.
82, all right.
Billy Joel's 52nd Street on October 1st, 1982 in Japan was the first commercial compact disc released.
Oh, wow. I had 52nd Street on 8-track.
Wow. You are old. No, I had 8 tracks. They sucked.
Well, I picked it up at a Goodwill. I don't even know why.
I think that's why I didn't like the Grateful Dead initially. I listened to Blues for Allah on 8-track at a buddy's house, and I was just kind of like, that don't sound very good.
Yeah, it didn't have the same sound quality as cassette tape either. It was weird.
Oh.
Not just functionality, just the sound quality.
Yeah, the sound quality bit, so. Oh, yeah. Well.
Stick with records.
Yeah.
Can't bring them in the car with you, though.
Better bumper stickers should be issued. You never heard that?
No.
That's Neil Young, man.
All right. Well, you should have taken credit for it.
Nah. Nope. Got to be careful about that down south, though,
I don't think our audience needs all the specifications, so I'm going to keep going on here. But, yeah, and eventually it actually even had a sync function and stuff like that, SMPTE, that thing for synchronization. So, yeah, they were improving on it. Sorry if I interrupt you, Mike. It's just the delays.
You're fine.
It's hard to manage when I'm starting and you're finishing and all that. Oh, God. So here we go. We have another video clip. And so the rest are video clips. We're done with the slides, folks. And here we go. This is a guy. And now this link's in the description because for some of these videos where it's like an actual creator who released them, I do like to encourage folks to go check them out on their channels. This is someone that has bought a used Fairlight, has it, at least fairly recently, and I guess this is 2017. And so I've been working on it and trying to get it to work, and just did a demo. So I thought I'd play it because it was pretty informative. Gives you more of a hands-on view of it. And here we go.
Hi. Many people
The link is in the description, so you can check out the channel. I think it's called Synthopia. I want to call it Synthtopia, but it may not be that. I'll check it out.
Synthmania.
Synthmania. I knew it was something.
Synthopia featured me on a long time ago.
All right. Well.
Ha ha. Ha ha.
Good for you.
I know, right?
All right. Here we go. Here's Synthmania. We'll have to feature him sometime.
have asked for a video of the Fairlight, and I finally managed to hook it up today. So let's take a look. Okay, here's my Fairlight. Let's see if I remember how to use it. I haven't used it in a while. And by the way,
it's always great to hear at the beginning. And actually, I mean that sincerely. As somebody that's not being all pompous or something, it's like, all right, let me see if I can figure this out.
without this, we cannot turn it on. So luckily, I found the key of the Fairlight. All right, let's turn it on. Alright, let's see if I remember how to use it. I haven't used this in a while. I bought this in 2011 and it's been in and out of repair shops, and I've always had problems with one of the voice cards. So let's load the system disk.
Oh my god, this guy's hardcore.
You have to be.
Really?
And then let's load a sound disk.
Look at that floppy.
By the way, these are the real floppy disks. The huge ones. These are
Yeah,
floppy.
I remember those.
Alright, let's see if I remember how to use it. This is my Fairlight 2X series from about 1984. And I bought this in 2011, and to be honest, it's been in and out of repair shops. I've always had problems with one of the voice cards. So I really need to, this year I'm really gonna get it repaired for good, maybe send it to Australia. And so it works, it just some of the keys don't work. But I wanted to show some of the most classic sounds of this mythical instrument that is the Fairlight. So let's see if I remember how to use it. Let's go to one of the voices. Let's do the R1, which is probably the most famous Fairlight.
Alrighty. Yeah, the orchestra hit.
Patch. You'll remember this from a lot of, if you're about my age, you'll remember this from your teenager years.
Oh.
I had that sound on a keyboard.
So that's the usual voice card. Sometimes I reseat it and it works. I need to have it looked at. But let's load up a few more sounds. Alright, let's call up a do patch. Typical 1980s, early Fairlight sound. Like
These
the style
became
of,
standard
Art of
MIDI
Noise.
sounds at some point.
Yeah, I think a lot of them became,
They
pretty
became
much standards.
standard,
Yeah,
yeah.
for people to imitate them, because it's hard to copyright a sound design, really, I guess. And if you do, it's gotta, I guess, gotta be really specific.
Both of those sounds were included in most sound banks in the 90s. They got their own general MIDI number and everything.
I wonder who is the original do, who recorded the original very first do.
Ooh.
I don't know. I remember the Casio SK1. That was a favorite at birthday parties and stuff like that. And of course, you had the obligatory belch recording, so you hear this. Yeah.
Someone sampling that?
Yep. Well, no, me and like everybody else.
I'm just saying somebody should be recording.
Well, that was the demo
It
song.
is
The
being
demo.
recorded on YouTube.
Yeah, that's the demo song.
Someone come up with a song with that sound.
No, that's the demo song. Bum, ba-da-da, ba-da-da,
But with that
ba-da-da-da,
sound?
da-da-da-da-da. Well, yeah, you record a burp and it'll play.
Scott Hovett said people like the burp sound.
Did it enough that I remember, the song, the demo song from a Casio SK1.
Ah, yes.
Here we go.
Awesome.
All right, let's call up that La.
I love it. Mechanical keyboard. Chucklunk.
All right, here's a string disc, and then let's load up another super classic Fairlight sound, the Orc 5. Everybody knows this one here.
Everybody now.
These are the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah. That one.
Yeah. The orchestra thing.
Let's load up another disc with the Humans 2.
Humans 2.
And let's do 1.
The one.
Yeah, these, yeah.
Yeah, there's
think,
a lot of aliasing in it. That's the buzziness you hear in the upper register. Plus, I think the signal was a little hot as he recorded it in.
Yeah.
But it was said that, yeah, there was plenty of aliasing in this because of the lower sample rates at first. It wasn't until they went to 1644.1 that you could get rid of most of that sampling. And then it depends on the low pass filter on the analog to digital converter.
Yeah.
Basically, if you can't it's almost like in the photography world, if you're taking a digital picture and you just don't have enough pixels to get an accurate image,
Yep. And then the computer randomly takes the things it can't reproduce and creates sounds that weren't part of the signal.
Yep, frequencies.
Yep.
30 plus years ago, 35 years ago. These were incredible sounds for the day. And of course you would process them. Let's call out the bass 1.
All right, I think we'll do one more sound, and then we're going to hear a little bit of Mike Gourley.
We almost heard some Spielberg in there.
Let's do a Scream 5.
Almost.
Or John Williams.
Oh, hold on. Yeah, I guess.
I could use the light pan, but I just fast like this.
Whoa.
Oh,
Okay.
Tootsie Bet 1.
You could hear the loop of the stream in the middle.
Yeah. Processing. Wow.
It's so 80s, sort of art of noise and
so 80s.
typical Fairlight sound.
Yeah, it's giving me Conan the Barbarian right there.
Awesome.
All right, so we're going to check out here. I mean, I have two more video clips that we will check out on the Fairlight, some musical performances, but I think we're going to switch over just for a change of pace and see what Mr. Mike Gourley's been doing. Maybe I should switch after I call up his channel. But we are going to check out, because Mike emailed me today about his, I can't type and speak at the same time, because of his latest release. And I said, yeah, we could probably play that. So because it's something different than what he has been doing.
Well, you know, the music's meditative. The video is not psychedelic. It's more more spiritual.
Ooh, that might help for the relaxation.
Yes.
If people actually watch things while they're relaxing. Let me load her up.
Some people do.
Oh, that's right. You do.
Yeah.
All right. So we are looking for the right tab here. Mike Gourley. There we go. All right. So I believe you are seeing Mike Gourley's channel right now.
There he is.
Okay. And it's Path to Enlightenment, right?
Yep.
Okay. So let's get on the path. I've been trying to do that for a long time now. Finally found it. Oh, I am muted because I have my YouTube muted because I need to not hear the stream while streaming. So
Yes.
Here we go.
Understood.
That's a Mike Gourley mega opus.
Mike.
Let me go back here
Yeah.
and whoop. I just want to make sure, give it a like.
Hey, thanks. Woo!
Very nice piece. Where did you get all of those beautiful images, Mike?
What's it called? GPT?
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that it could produce images.
Yes.
Wow.
It can produce album covers.
That's incredible. They're beautiful.
Yeah, I know. And
Why does Lawrence use stable diffusion?
Because I guess you got to pay for ChatGPT.
yeah, to get that many, I did have to fork
Oh.
over. You can do like a couple a day free, but yeah, I had
Okay.
to. So I was putting it to good use. It's interesting because this started out, and I started recording. I had the video. It was going to be like 8 minutes, and I decided it started out with all these pretty much women and spirit guides and all the animals and all that stuff. And after looking at it, I decided it wasn't, to be path to enlightenment, it wasn't inclusive enough. So I went back and made a whole bunch of images of different, the rosary, the priest, the Aztec, all the other stuff, and had to insert it all in there, and all that stuff. So and then moved it up to a 12-minute video. So, but I think it's more inclusive that way. But anyway,
Well, you're open to wisdom from all traditions.
exactly, and that's hopefully what I tried to capture. I'm sure I might have missed something, but at any rate, you got the shaman. Yeah, you got the shaman there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Walking the path.
But the music, like, the one thing about your music is, especially in these types of pieces, I do feel better after hearing it.
Yes.
I think they are healing in a way.
Well, good. Yeah, my buddy up in Ohio said that.
Yeah,
said,
definitely.
it's
I
true.
felt better
Yeah.
listening to it, and then afterwards,
Yeah.
some of the tension does go away.
And in fact, he's, of course, he doesn't have to because he's like a brother to me, but he does some stuff. And yeah, he was like, can I use some of your songs? And I'm like, of course, man. I'm absolutely honored. So,
Nice.
but yeah, this, I got my Persian Dutar back from Gabe a couple weeks ago. And so I snuck it in there and,
Nice.
along with the baritone ukulele, and of course the synth stuff and drums and a little bit of a little bit of everything. So
Wow. Yeah.
Very cool.
got the singing bowls and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm glad
Yeah,
you
it
liked
really is an experience, and I encourage folks, if you're watching this stream on like a phone or something, definitely need some headphones.
Yes.
You need to hear that on headphones or some good speakers.
Yeah, right.
The music is powerful.
Well, thank you.
Well, a link's always in the description, folks, for Mike Mountain Hawk Gourley on YouTube.
Yeah, and it is for people who want just the music. It is available on Bandcamp. I outrageously priced it at $2 whole. Break the bank there. You can't even get a cup of coffee for $2 anymore, huh?
Nothing for $2.
No.
Gosh.
Thank you, Scott.
All righty, folks. Well, always love to keep checking in with Mike. And I mean, you're releasing, I don't know how you can be so prolific.
Incredibly prolific.
Yeah, and it's quality. That's the thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah, the last few things I've done that I've thrown up on, I've gotten in this thing of not doing, I guess I'm going a different direction and not doing like whole albums. So, I got a couple pieces on there that are longer, but any rate.
Yeah, I was
we'll
thinking
see
of
if
doing
works,
that.
But,
Maybe releasing things because since it doesn't go to physical media anymore, I'm wondering if I should continue doing things in albums or not. Especially since it's been so many years since I released an album. It's been like 13 years, I think.
Yeah. Well, and it seems that people are more apt to just buy a song than, a whole album. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's something to try out.
But
And
one thing is, at least with the albums, when you're doing the copyright form, like for the audio recording, at least you can put it all in one. You pay once for 10 or 11 tracks rather than
Yeah, funny you
one at a
mentioned that,
time.
'cause YouTube flagged me on the Consider the Source documentary.
Ah,
Oh, yeah. Well,
what was it, a copyright strike, or did they just
no, it's
claim the
monetization.
copyright? Oh, they just claimed
No,
monetization.
they weren't going to stop it from going out, but they said if I ever got up to enough subscribers that I wouldn't be able to make any money. Well, I didn't really give a shit about that part. I just didn't like the idea that it was flagged, so I looked into it, and they told me exactly where it was, and it wasn't any of their music. I was interviewing Gabe uh, before the show.
It came out in the background music.
It was the stage music, yeah, the background music playing on the stage.
What happened was a publisher claimed the copyright to your video, and so if you ever reach monetization, they get paid for that video when ads run on it. Which, I mean,
well, some of that's
Just so
ridiculous
YouTube
because.
actually took it out.
Oh, yeah, you can.
Yeah,
they
you
do
can
have an
remove
option
it.
for a race song.
Yeah, it actually took it out because otherwise I would have just cut the clip out. But
Yeah.
but they
Well,
took it
yeah,
out.
definitely that. I like the feature where you can erase song where it tries to take it out but leave in any dialogue or.
Yeah, I would have never thought of
Yeah.
that. To go to the sound guy. Hey, can you turn the music off? I wasn't.
Especially since it's background music. In many ways, it's just ridiculous because I understand, you want to receive, royalties on the music being played, but when it's background and doesn't necessarily sound good, like background music through your microphone that's being played on a stage somewhere,
Right.
it's like it doesn't even sound good that way. Just because it's recognizable doesn't mean I got to earn all the money that you did in putting together this documentary
Yeah.
and stuff for the time that I was in the background with my song. Or not, and it's not even the person that gets it. It's like the publishing company, and it's like,
I just didn't want it to be flagged as copyright, so I was glad they took
Yeah.
it
Well,
out there.
you weren't going to get in trouble, Mike. It's just they would basically steal what you've the potential earnings you could on that video, and I'm glad you were able to just remove it. Now, it's good that YouTube put it in that feature that there's some AI thing that allows you to separate music from the dialogue, and you can remove it.
sometimes you can't, but that's why on this stream I'm trying to do a little bit more of that, where I may wait a day and then have things trimmed out. I mean, you could always go to the Odyssey and the Rumble channels to get the full thing, or if you're here with us live, you get everything without any
Exactly.
cuts. But tonight, probably the only cut would be just that moment where it sounded more like the studio recording of Peter Gabriel at one moment. But that's the thing. It's just like a few seconds. All right, fine. If you want me to pay, like if they take it out of the monetization for a little bit for when that played, fine. But otherwise,
there
I'm just
should be
earning
a-
some pennies here, and it's just I'm hoping just someday to be able to cover the cost of EV Muck, so I'm not losing money.
Yeah, there you go.
It should be a percentage of the videos. Like, okay, this percentage of the video contains this, and whatever the publisher or label earns, it's a percentage of what was actually in.
But
No.
that's where things are headed. And you remember the phrase from the World Economic Forum that by 2030, you will own nothing. They're saying you will own nothing and you will be happy. It's like, no, it's like we will own nothing. They leave out the thing. The stakeholders, as they call them, will own everything.
They'll own everything.
And then
They're just so
they'll be happy.
geniuses and great, right? Huh.
Yeah, it seems to be like an ownership type of thing, like especially the way it works on YouTube. It's just like claim and own this and this. I mean, I even had a claim on a tutorial I was doing where I was making a sound on the spot. So the only way I figured that could have happened is like, it wasn't a claim like for me playing a song or anything. I listened to the section where I was using an oscillator and a filter, and I was just filtering an oscillator, and it was modulating back and forth. I wasn't trying to imitate anything, and it was just really like a type of sound. And it's like that got claimed, and I was like,
Oh my God.
it was something called Titanic or whatever, and it wasn't the song like from the Titanic or anything. I don't know what the hell it was. I think someone sampled a piece of my video. They liked the sound at that moment, sampled it, used it in the song, and then released it with CD Baby or DistroKid or something, and then checked off, that they want YouTube royalties on it and stuff. So now the thing they took from me is theirs or something.
Well, dispute it. You should always dispute.
I did.
God.
I did, and I won because they didn't contest it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even if they did, you'd still win because you can prove that.
Well,
what
yeah, it's
you
a
made-
tutorial video where they see me making something from scratch.
Exactly.
The evidence is in the video.
Always, always, always contest it, people. I know the language when you go to contest something on YouTube
Seems scary.
but it's really not a big deal. Don't let people take your work. Just contest it. It's a very simple process, and you usually hear back from YouTube a few minutes.
Oh, no, this took a month. They gave
Oh.
them 30 days to contest it. They didn't, and so I get to keep.
Okay. Well,
There you
for
go.
me, I guess it's been smaller things, and,
'Cause,
I've heard back from YouTube within minutes, and there are known scammers out there that make false claims on videos, and they're known. And if the claimant on your video is a known, thing, they usually take care of it pretty quickly.
Okay.
So they're getting better at it. They still give deference to the big corps that own so much.
Yeah, definitely. If they
intellectual
own it, they don't really look into, fair use, which is really a thing. I mean, I could play.
It's part.
I
of
could play like
copyright.
maybe a 20-second snippet of a Peter Gabriel song, and it's completely legal if I talk about it and everything like that, especially if it's, just a clip,
Mm-hmm.
That's completely legal according to copyright law, but they don't protect that on YouTube.
YouTube does not abide by copyright law. That's what
Yeah.
people have to understand. They should, but they do
they make
whatever
you
they
feel
want.
bad, but it's like,
Yeah.
no, wait a minute. The law's there to protect the use. That's why it's called fair use. It's to protect
Exactly.
the use in certain circumstances, especially in that case where the only protection I think you need to have as a musician is like so people actually hear your music from the sources you want.
Yeah.
Not that people can't use your music at all when talking
Look,
about it,
on all
especially
of
since
these-
it helps promote it usually.
On all
Yeah,
of
exactly.
on all of these platforms, the little guy, doesn't get as much protection as the big corporations that own everything.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's
and
true.
yeah.
Well, I am going to play, we only have 2 more videos, but I select them because I thought they were pretty cool. And so we'll be having an earlier end tonight. Actually, I was feeling good tonight. This was a good night. I don't feel like I'm rushing to squeeze a film and everything. I think, I'm definitely, when we do films again, it's going to be highlights. But we could do that now. I mean, if folks in the chat, especially Scott out there, if you have some suggestions for something to do next week, please let me know. Because I haven't thought of it yet. I just already thought ahead to the 1st. I think we're going to do This Is Spinal Tap on June 1st for our 1-year anniversary.
There you go.
Highlights. I'm not going to do play-by-play the whole film, but just the highlights. And I'll play what I actually can get away with, I think.
Right.
But yeah, definitely. You can find a lot of their classic songs on YouTube somewhere, but all right, here we go. Lovely indeed. This is Herbie Hancock appearing on Sesame Street. This may get clipped out. I don't know.
I had this taped in my watch later. I didn't get to watch it today.
Nice to see that controller there.
Hi, Herbie. Hi, how are you? Nice to see you. Listen, it's nice of you to let us visit. We're interrupting you, aren't we? It sounded good coming down the hallway.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember Maria from Sesame Street.
Yeah. When Sesame Street used to like really try to educate kids. I remember Celia Cruz coming on to Sesame Street one time.
When the Cookie Monster really ate cookies.
What did he really? Real
Oh, they
cookies?
changed that? Oh.
What is he eating now?
I don't know. I heard he's back to cookies, but I think for a while there they stopped doing it.
Was he eating vegetables?
I don't know.
Oh, gosh, you can't be a cookie monster if you eat vegetables. Come
That's
on.
right. He's the Cookie Monster.
Exactly. Gosh.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, well, never mind. I'm not going to get into it. Here we go.
Yeah.
I think you know everybody.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, how are you?
Well,
Great.
we're here. What can you tell us about all this stuff?
Oh, this. Well, instead of me telling you about it, how about if I show you about all of this stuff?
Okay, that sounds good.
Want to do me a favor?
What?
Could you just say your name into this microphone?
Tatiana Ali.
Watch this.
Tatiana Ali.
Who was that?
Tatiana Ali.
That's how you sound. What do you think of that? Huh? Did you ever hear yourself before?
I have.
Yeah, you have?
You ever heard yourself sound like this, though?
Tatiana
What happened to your little voice?
Ali. Do it in low.
Is that funny?
Do it real low at this key.
Okay, watch this.
Do
Oh.
it at the last key.
But you know what? I'm going to show you something different. Watch this.
Tatiana Ali. Tatiana Ali. Tatiana Ali.
It's two of them, right?
Tatiana.
Watch this, though.
Tatiana.
How about this? Well, you know what you know what I want to do for you now? I want to show you a whole room full of Tatiana Ali's.
Oh, big.
You want to see that? Watch this.
Make it one. Hi, Tatiana.
You know, we have in the Fix-It shop, we have a monitor. But I know this is a monitor, but what do you need a monitor for in music? What are you looking at?
Okay, the great thing about this is that because we have a monitor, we can see what the sound looks like. Not just hear it, but see what it looks like.
Oh, I see. So that's a picture of sound of a note?
This is a picture of Tatiana Ali.
Yeah.
Look at that.
And this is a different kind of picture of Tatiana Ali. And I'll show you a third one even. Look at this one. That's Tatiana
There you go
Ali.
again.
See? So we got 3 different pictures of it.
He's a flying pig.
Looks like a flying pig, right?
He looks like a flying
Well, so if you change,
We can even change the sound of Tatiana Ali to sound like kind of like a computer voice.
Okay.
Let's see.
Wow.
Is that funny?
you know, and this it looks almost like the piano in Bob's apartment, but or an electric keyboard. Is it an electric keyboard? Does it do more or?
Oh yeah. Well, see, this is not just a piano, because it is a synthesizer, and because it's a computer-based synthesizer. This instrument, this keyboard, which works with this computer here, and this monitor here, and also there's a typewriter keyboard that Clive is in front of. All these all these things work together, and you can have so many other different kinds of things that you can't do on a piano. For example, I can play one note and have a bunch of notes come out. I can hit one and you hear a bunch of notes come out. Like this. See, a bunch of notes played. A different kind of sound. What do you think of that? And it can make all kinds of different sounds.
Can you make an elephant?
Okay, I think we'll stop it there. That's from back in the day.
Yeah.
Man, because it's laid back, it's slow paced. I mean, I don't think the pacing on Sesame Street could be like that anymore because attention spans are just not there.
Yeah.
It was really laid back, and Maria, who's kind of like, I guess, proctoring it, is like not pushing him along.
No, but she's like a teacher on a field trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So it was more real,
Yeah. So anyway, I think we've thoroughly covered the instrument, and I think we've completed our mission for the week pretty well.
Yes.
Hey.
Yay. And it'll
Glad
be
we got
time.
back into this. This is pretty cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was about time.
So do we have any suggestions for next week?
Well, are there any TV shows or movies that utilize this instrument a lot that we could
Well,
talk
yeah,
about?
there was clips and stuff used in a lot. I mean, I don't know that I want to do Miami Vice, but maybe we could actually talk about some artists.
Okay.
Maybe like since you mentioned it, I could try to find out the stuff I can about Jan Hammer. Other than just the
Jan
music I've
Hammer.
heard, maybe learn about him a little bit.
Well, we touched on Peter Gabriel today. I mean, we can get
Oh
into
man, I'm
it.
almost like want to save that for a special occasion or something.
Thomas Dolby. Was it used in any? Oh, Phil Collins.
Phil Collins has
Phil Collins.
suggested.
Scott Halvett. Yes, Phil Collins. Good call. Coming
Yeah,
down like a monkey.
feeling
all
all
right.
right. I remember when he was releasing things in the 80s, the solo stuff, when he did covered groovy kind of love and was doing stuff like that. And then
Yeah, that was
a friend of mine heard one of the Genesis songs that he hadn't heard before, and it was that
like,
one where, yeah, it was Domino and like coming down like a monkey, but I'm all right. And after hearing what his solo stuff, they were like, that's Phil Collins? I'm like, yeah. He did different stuff with Genesis.
I remember. Don't worry.
I love the soundtrack he did for Brother Bear.
Brother Bear. Wait, is that a Disney movie?
Yes, it is.
I haven't seen it. God.
It's funny because I hardly ever watch any of those movies, but I've seen Brother Bear.
I know he did the
Phil Collins did
soundtrack. Yeah.
Well, it's got kind of a Native American feel to it a little bit.
Cool. Gotta check that out.
Yeah, but Phil Collins did a beautiful job on the soundtrack for that.
Brother Bear, huh?
Brother Bear.
Well, I'll check it out. I mean, it's not a promise, but I got to work it out in the next, tonight or tomorrow. So, Scott, we'll do Phil Collins definitely at some point.
Yeah, I agree with Scott. What he did with the drums, like the reshaping of the drums.
Well, all right, let's just do it. We'll do Phil Collins.
Yes.
We'll do
Yeah.
Phil Collins. Why don't we do it? Scott
Yeah.
has never led us wrong. He suggested The Fifth Element. So
Well, about damn time we do something for Scott.
yeah.
Look at all he's done for
We
us.
did The
Come
Fifth
on.
Element,
Exactly.
but he was right. He was right. So, all right. So we'll try Phil Collins next week, and then we have another week after that. Figure out what we'll do in there. But this is Spinal Tap. Will be June 1st. All right, folks. So I think it's time to say goodnight.
Good night, everyone.
And so, yeah, please stay tuned. The Wayfarer Project, I am going to be doing a lot more music stuff now that I get my studio sorted out. Got things the way I want. Primarily, I just want to do some touching up with software on the main music computer a little bit tomorrow. Hopefully this week, if not definitely next week, I will be releasing more tutorials and videos on synthesis, electronic music, sound design for relaxation, meditation, and sleep, all that kind of stuff.
Good.
Yep. And it felt good doing some music again tonight.
Yes.
Felt good. And especially this instrument, it just flowed and everything. So thank you to our audience, chat. Scott, you're the rock as always. Robot, was great seeing you again. And Flav was there.
Yeah.
Any other folks you want to point out?
No, those are our diehards. They were here
Yeah.
today, and we got people watching.
There was more people. I was looking at the count there,
Yeah,
and
the count is
we have
nice.
some shy people in the background.
Yes, don't be shy
Maybe some
anymore,
people
shy
are just here for the learning and are wondering what kind of cult did I get into here? We're not that scary. We're not a cult.
No,
Some
not at
people
all.
that just enjoy our Sunday nights.
Yes,
Music, movies, sci-fi,
sci-fi.
that sort of stuff. All right, looking back at the 70s and the 80s, beautiful stuff.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so I guess we've all said goodbye, so I'm going to remove us from the stage so that we could have Olivier Doucet take us out.
Yes, take us out. Engage.
An elephant we can make.